it's me. I hope that you are having a wonderful Sunday so far. I'm Heather. I'm from hairkittykitty.com, the wig wearer formerly known as Sister Wigs, but spelled funny. A little story about that. I don't know if I've ever told you. I might have done, but just in case while I'm waiting for some folks to join the live stream, I had to change my name from Sister Wigs to something else, primarily because I realized while I was just kind of experimenting with the algorithm and figuring out, what's coming up when people are actually searching for wigs and they look for my wig store by name. And when you start the name of your wig store with the word cyst, back in 2013, pimple popping videos and stuff like that, like Dr. Pimple Popper, that sort of thing, weren't quite as big. And everyone joining right now, by the way, is probably going like, what is she talking about? So, hi. But I had to change my name from Sister Wigs because I realized that people were literally Googling the name of my store and that all of these disgusting videos would pop up as a result. And I was like, you know what? That's cool. Dermatological weirdness. I mean, that's a niche. People apparently really like those videos. But at the same time, it's like, do I really want my brand associated with that? Maybe not. Maybe not. Like my sisters, you and I, we know that we go through this stuff together, right? Like I found out, like I mentioned on the last live stream, that I have yet another ovarian cyst. So the cyst part of life for people with PCOS is very, very real. But at the same time, it's like, do I really want that to be the center of what I'm calling myself in my wig store? And after a decade of that, I was like, right, time for a refresh. So thank you to everybody who is joining us today. I hope that you are having a wonderful Sunday. I see that we already have a couple people saying hello. So I want to say hi to you, particulars. Thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to let you know up front, this is going to be a relatively short live stream. Nigel is not able to join today. He has rheumatoid arthritis, as you're probably aware, and he's having a little bit of a flare. So because of that, we're going to keep this one relatively short and sweet. Today, I am wearing a Colette in the color Cocoa Swirl. I love this wig. It's really popular. I believe she's actually already sold out in a few colors, and you can probably see why. She's really flattering. I'm not wearing like any makeup at all. She's got these great face framing layers, so that way, like, I don't feel like my wide face is going like a like a horizontal billboard sort of thing. Those layers, they come in handy. As you probably are aware, also, we have a sale going on right now, so I'll just state that right away. We have a sale going on for Founders Week. It was my birthday over the last week. So as you may or may not know, tonight is the last night of this series of sales, and everything in the store is 50% off. You don't need to use a coupon code whatsoever. Just go to hairkittykitty.com. You can pick up a Colette. This is Cocoa Swirl R, by the way. I'll put that back on the screen in just a moment, just in case. And this one is average large. So if you need to alter the cap, just know that it's wefted in the back. So it should be pretty easy to do that. And we have some tutorials on our website about that. Kathleen Ryan, who used to work for our store and has since gone solo, she made some really wonderful assets for us. So we're very grateful for her for that. And you can still find those on our website. So I want to say thank you once again to Kathleen for helping us with all of that. But you're still in good hands if you join our Hair Kitty Kitty Moon Kitty mix-up group. Now it's hanging out, talking hair, but really, if you look it up under either name, you'll find it. We're hanging out on Facebook. You may be watching us there in that Facebook group. And we have some wonderful ladies there, including another lady named Kathleen, who does a beautiful job helping us with showcasing the hair. So there are many, many wonderful women out there that do a beautiful job of helping us in that regard. Whether or not they actually work for us is not really relevant. Most of them do not. Most of the word of mouth that you hear about our brand is organic, and that's the way that I prefer it. Because I know when I was in your shoes, I always found it very frustrating when I could tell that something was an obvious like promotion, because I was like, okay, so take that with a grain of salt. Should I actually take that seriously? And I would honestly view my own content the same way. Like if I were in your shoes and not me, if I were watching Heather, I'd be like, oh, well, she's talking about her own hair. I wonder if I should take that seriously. So I feel like, honestly, the folks who do this stuff organically and talk about this because they care about the community and because they actually want to spread the word about the wigs, like, I think that they get all the snaps, so many snaps, because they help us all find better hair and look our best. And they don't really get much of a financial payoff for it. I feel like that's really worth something and deserves some shout outs once in a while. So anyhow, don't forget our Founders Day sale. Again, 50% off. And this wig, in case you didn't see it the first time around, I'll have that here on the screen again for you. It's called Colette. The color is Cocoa Swirl. And this is a non-heat friendly full wig. There is no monofilament in this cap, and it's very, very comfortable. I want to also warn you, like we always do in every podcast that we do, or in this case, live stream, that literally this is pretty off the cuff. We don't try to make this super polished and professional. It's not really how we roll. We just want everyone to have a really great time. And so let me see really quick. Here we go. Get some more comments coming in. Oh, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I mean, but Tina, I have seen Dr. Pimple Popper's videos too. And just so you know who I'm responding to, there we go. I mean, honestly, I think there's a place for this. I mean, understanding dermatological health, understanding when to go to a doctor to get that stuff addressed as opposed to yourself, you know, I think that comes in handy, particularly if you're on that PCOS side of things and you have cystic acne and stuff like that. I mean, it comes with the territory for sure. I think that, you know, this is probably pretty helpful what you're planning to do, because it's, and just like I think Dr. Pimple Popper's videos, and by the way, she's very charismatic. She sells that stuff. She takes a very disgusting subject matter and makes it sound kind of fun, you know? So I think she's actually doing a really great public service too. It's just not necessarily what I want associated with my wigs, you know? I don't necessarily want my hair to be associated with things that are ooey and gooey and, you know, that way. Hi, Barbara. I hope that you're having a good night too. And thank you again, Tina, for the belated birthday wishes. Let's see here. I already said this, but I'll say it again. Hi there, wig lovers. And yes, today I am indeed wearing a wig. It feels nice sometimes. Nigel actually set up these slides and he set it up for me to be the voice of reason. Boy, does he have me pegged wrong. And Nigel, face to stop a clock. He's so cute. Honestly, he's so sweet. He wanted to be involved in today's live stream because he enjoys these just as much as I do. But honestly, his RA is really flared up and it's on his face. Like you can actually see the flare on his face. And I was like, dude, let's not put that on the internet for perpetuity, right? Like, sit this one out. I'll take one for the team, right? I mean, I get to hog the spotlight to myself for a few minutes for sure, but I mean, I know that he genuinely enjoys doing this. He set up the stage for me, but you know, the set for me, so that way I wouldn't have to turn on all these lights. So he was still very instrumental in setting all of this up. But yeah, I think I was just like, if I were in his shoes, I would not want that video footage to haunt me all around the internet. So probably for the best. Let's see. I'm not drinking alcohol today. Instead, I'm having this. It's still naughty because I'm drinking it out of a straw. But this is a large iced latte, half calf with 4 shots of sugar-free vanilla. My drug of choice isn't even alcohol. It is caffeine. Caffeine with a side of caffeine. I love me some caffeine. I have a hard time saying no. I am that cliche middle-aged woman who loves her coffee before adulting. I am that person. I cannot get away from it. I need as much caffeine. If I could have an IV drip of caffeine and like a patch of caffeine and extra caffeine, I'd probably be really happy. I'd also be really dehydrated, but that's another story for another day. And I'll keep this down here just in case anybody missed the sale. Let's see. So Nigel wanted me to mention the order of release for some of the new stuff that is coming to the store. He plans to release the following wigs in this order: Poppy in Barbie Dreams Rooted. Now, if I understand correctly, he asks the folks in Patreon. So it's Sister Wigs on Patreon. He asks them what order they would like these things to be launched. So this is the order everyone voted on, which is Poppy in Barbie Dreams Rooted, Colette in that's this wig but in a different color, in Illuminati Rooted, and Grayson in South Beach Sands. South Beach Sands is a great color. I mean, these are all great colors. Obviously, I mean, I'm biased because I designed them, But South Beach Sands, a lot of people rave about that, just like they rave about this Cocoa Swirl. They're just really super easy colors to wear. Illuminati, on the other hand, is like an icy, icy platinum with a very real ashy tint. It's almost a pure white, almost. And so because of that, it's pretty dramatic. And it also has a number 10 light ash brown root. And I made it that way on purpose. A lot of those really light colors that were coming out at the time, like Illumina R from Noriko, had very dark number 4 or even number 2 roots. And I thought that's too dark. So my Illuminati, it's toned down just a little bit when it comes to the rooting. The rooting is still there, but it's a softer, lighter brown with an ashier undertone to really set off that white and make it pop. So it's a beautiful color, but it's definitely ultra icy, cool tone. So that has to be what you're going for, or else you're probably going to want to stick to something else. And then Barbie Dreams Rooted is a golden blonde. I love this color. In fact, someday I may make the blonde in the Barbie Dreams its own thing. But for now, Barbie Dreams is a beautiful golden blonde that has like rosy pink highlights all over. It is such a pretty color. But again, you have to be a Barbie girl in a Barbie world who enjoys those kind of pink tones in that blonde to really make the most of it. So a warm tone followed by a cool tone, followed by what I would argue is a neutral tone, because the South Beach Sands is very well blended. It's a dark blonde, but it's got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It all kind of neutralizes a little bit in the middle to make a highly wearable color. And all this, by the way, can be found at fairkitty.com. And Nigel thought of everything. He even made this banner. Oh yeah. Shameless self-promotion achieved. So there we go. Again, I'll put this one on there just in case anyone missed the wig that I'm wearing. 50% off at our website. Let's check out some more comments. Since I'm doing this solo, I have to toggle back and forth between the banners and the comments. I'm sorry if I'm not seeing your comments right away. Thank you so much, Tina. Yeah, I know he's bummed because he really wanted to be on this one. So hopefully the next time around we do this, he'll be in a little bit better shape. Oh, thank you. I will definitely let him know for sure. And thank you again. I really appreciate that. I mean, I'm 43. I'm repping 40s. I'm feeling it pretty good though. Like I mean, yes, I've got the arthritis and stuff going on from being a big girl for so much of my life. But I genuinely am very grateful every day that I've made it this far and that I'm still in pretty decent health. So, you know, round of applause to all of us for still being here on this rock and still making it work, right? Oh, Kathy, that's so sweet of you. Well, I do plan on trying to make more time for that. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I'll touch on this just a second. I've mentioned this in the past, but here, let me take a swig of my coffee. Again, I'm being naughty. I should not be drinking from a straw. So I have to do so very slowly, or else I will, you know, in full disclosure, because I have a gastric sleeve, I will burp a lot if I don't go really slowly. So fingers crossed I do this well. Who knew that drinking through a straw had to be that coordinated? But anyway, you know, my day job has been kind of killing my free time. They've kind of taken their liberties with it. I don't want to diss my employer because I actually really love my day job. But the problem with it is that the job is over consolidated. You know what I mean? So it's like 3 or 4 jobs kind of pushed into a single position. In case you didn't know, I'm a research analyst, and my specialty is worldwide digital commerce software and services. So I cover a lot of very broad technologies and architecture models and stuff like that for commerce. And you know, it's a pretty hot topic. It's something everyone wants to be attached to in business because, you know, I'm revenue generation, right? Like the thing I cover is all about rev gen. And so, you know, when the economy is kind of stagnating or, you know, kind of plateaued, you know, they want to figure out how to get the gas going again. They come talk to me. And so I've been very, very busy. And I actually told my employer, you know, that this needs to stop. Enough is enough. Like I literally need to have some kind of life at some point because they know I have this business. Before I went to work for my employer, I straight up told them, and it's in my contract, that I was going to keep this business and that I was going to continue to make content for it and that they would not have any claims to it. And so literally, I should be able to continue to do this. I have that in writing, and yet they've been eating up so much of my time that I've not really been able to do that. So I'm working on it. Believe me, I am fighting about that behind the scenes, though gently and hopefully diplomatically, because I do like my job. I think what I do is really cool, but this is my passion, right? Like designing wigs, making content about wigs, talking to you is literally something I live for. This is my oasis of calm away from the crazy day-to-day of constantly writing and researching and doing, you know, meetings on Zoom and stuff like that. This is so much more fun. And I just need to find a way to make more time for it. So believe me, the feeling is very mutual, and I hope to try to find a way to make that work again very soon. Tina says, I had a realtor who had, yes, Nigel doesn't have to take IV medication, but he is on Dupixent and methotrexate. So he's on some pretty heavy duty stuff to try to keep it in check. And if he misses it, even a single dose, he immediately starts to have a flare. So that's literally what it takes for him to go into remission. I feel so bad for your realtor though, because I can't imagine how hard it must be to try to coordinate your life around an IV medication. That must be like a heavy duty biologic of some kind. Oh, Barbara says she's trying to get the courage to try something in Illuminati. Honestly, I think if you're wondering what to go with, going with something a little bit longer gives you more ability to try to style it. And then, you know, I honestly recommend going with bold makeup, right? Like if you do that, make sure that you do something with your makeup that kind of either draws attention to your eyes or like a really bold red lip. That's what I like to do with my pictures of Illuminati. You'll see I have a lot of pictures of me in that color with red lips because I look very washed out in those tones until I do like the Taylor Swiftie move and then it pops. So that's my recommendation if you're feeling like you want to give it a try, but it kind of intimidates you. Experiment with your makeup a little bit. And, you know, and this might sound really cheesy, but grab a white towel. Wrap it around your head, right? And kind of pretend like that's your hair and see if you feel washed out in that color. Play with your makeup before you buy. Kind of, you know, step back a little bit, kind of squint, maybe, you know, just kind of see if the color scheme makes sense to you. And if you can make it work, then you'll know that it's time to pull the trigger on that. Tina says late or early 40s. Early is better because you can switch the numbers and you're suddenly younger. Yeah. Let's see. Hope you get major bonuses. Me too, because that brings me to the other thing that I wanted to mention that I don't know if Nigel made a banner for this. Let me see if he did. He might have done. No, he didn't. Okay. So Nigel and I are trying to move. My dad, and I don't want to make too much of a deal out of this because he's in remission at the moment. So I want to, you know, lead in with that. But he's had issues with liver cancer. It's the second time he's had it. The Cleveland Clinic has been able to nip it in the bud, but they've told him essentially that it's going to keep coming back. And so I want to go up to Ohio again so I can be closer to my dad, so I can be there in case him or my stepmom need any help. I can't really be much help to them in this situation when I'm in Georgia. So Nigel and I are considering relocating, which sounds really appealing right now because it's been in the 90s and Nigel, you know, euphemistically refers to it as Satan's jockstrap. It is really, really, really hot outside. Our air conditioning always breaks right in the middle of the dog days of summer without fail. That's when it's going to break, right? When you need it the most. It broke this time last year. It broke the year prior. We rent this house, so I don't want to spend money to repair somebody else's air conditioning. So I was like, screw it. This is a sign that my instincts are right and that we just need to move. So that is something that we are currently working on. But I may become a first-time homebuyer, which would be pretty sweet. It'll be in Ohio, which, you know, is not my first choice simply because snow. I don't know if any of you have ever lived in the Midwest near any of the Great Lakes, but my God, the lake effect snow, y'all Canadian people, you should keep that to yourselves. Canadian people, you don't need to be sending that stuff to Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin. My goodness. But yeah, like the lake effect snow that comes from Canada and just seems to pick up intense ferocity when it goes over the Great Lakes it just dumps all over the northern portion of Ohio and that Great Lakes region. And I'm not really looking forward to dealing with that again. I'm trying to think of, interesting strategies to try to combat the snow proactively. If any of you have any suggestions, let me know. But I just plan to try to stay home as much as possible so I don't end up having to deal with it. My brother says global warming is real and that it doesn't really get that cold up there anymore. But then he follows that up by telling me around January, February that they got 6 feet of snow in a day. I call shenanigans. I don't want to deal with that much snow. But we'll see how it goes. Oh, do any of you have Raynaud's syndrome, Raynaud's phenomenon, where your fingers and toes turn white? I know that's a common thing if you have autoimmune disorders and stuff like that. I get that as a primary condition, so I don't have an underlying condition that causes it. My mom's the same way. It's just every time I get cold or really hot or really stressed, I start to lose circulation in my fingers. And mine's kind of funny because it always starts with my middle finger. So it's like my body is flicking me off because it always starts there first. And if you're not familiar, it's when your extremities turn white in response to extreme hot or cold. And that part doesn't hurt. What hurts is when the sensation starts to come back and the blood flow resumes. And then it's like when your foot wakes up, right? It's like pins and needles. It is not a great sensation. So I'm trying to figure out proactive ways of dealing with that in the future too. Let's see. Tina says, I like on Amazon, you can virtually try on some makeup. Yes, I like those kind of interfaces myself. I wish someone would develop that for hair. I wish I could develop that for hair, right? It's just expensive. So somebody with deeper pockets needs to make that happen immediately. Let's see. I feel you, Kathy. Oh, and Iowa gets dumped on too. And I don't even think yours is like lake effect. I think it's just Iowa gets hit with all kinds of crazy weather because you're right in that sweet spot where it's like all of the different weather patterns from all over the continent converging. Lucky you guys. Let's see. Northern Michigan here at Lake Effect Snow looks and acts just like the regular kind. Go figure. Yeah. Either way, everyone. I'm not a big fan. I wish I could just walk around in a big snowproof bubble where it wouldn't get in my shoes, wouldn't get on my car. It's pretty to look at. I love looking outside the window at snow and, at least snow that hasn't been driven on or dogs haven't peed on, nice pristine snow. And I think that that's really beautiful, like on Christmas cards and stuff. And when the moonlight hits it and it turns kind of purpley, that's lovely, but also cold. It's nice from a distance. Let's see. Tina says, my brother went boot camp at Great Lakes November through January. Poor guy. Yes, I agree. Yep. So let's see if there are any other banners to talk about. We talked about getting ready to move, talked about the Founders Week sale, talked about the news. I'm making pretty good time here today. So I think I should tell you guys a little bit more about my most recent doctor's visit. So it wasn't really so much of a doctor's visit as it was a massage therapist appointment. As you probably know, I'm dealing with what I think is a seroma in my abdomen. I'm about to find out this week, and I will let y'all know once. By the way, I've lived in Georgia for a full decade at this point. Y'all is going to stay with me forever. Like that word, y'all is very convenient shorthand. And I am going to keep using that everywhere I go because it's so much easier. And it sounds more eloquent than saying yins, which I think is like the Pittsburgh variant. Saying y'all just seems very warm and folksy. And it makes me feel like I'm still in Athens, which I am right now. But when I'm no longer in Athens, I plan to take that. Anyway, I went to a massage therapist for a lymphatic massage because I had a tummy tuck last year in April that almost killed me. Like I literally, it's so surreal to continue to talk about this. Like I went to, I had surgery like the week before Easter Sunday of 2022. Did a live stream. Literally did a live stream where I was dyeing Easter eggs and stuff. And some of you may have even been watching that. And then that night, I woke up and I was wet. And I was like, what the heck is going on? My incision opened up, and I had gushed all over the place. I ended up going to the emergency room. I was dizzy and nauseous and just didn't feel very good. I just wanted to go back to sleep. My husband and John took me, my business partner at the time took me to the hospital, and my blood pressure was in the toilet. The long story short version of this, though I may make a longer video about it at some point, is that I got botched hardcore by a triple board certified American plastic surgeon based out of Lawrenceville. So this is somebody who is like Atlanta adjacent with a really large surgical center and is very well known, 5-star reviews all across the board. But she botched the hell out of my tummy tuck, and then gaslit me in front of my husband in some cases about how this was somehow my fault. When, you know, it's not like I did something on purpose to put my blood pressure in the toilet, right? Like, my blood pressure was so low that when I went in for my follow-up the day after surgery, they made sure they took a bunch of pictures of me. But I was so thoroughly dehydrated and my blood pressure was so low that they ended up having to give me a bag of fluid, and they put me in a hyperbaric chamber and a whole bunch of stuff, but they still sent me home. And then a week later, like I said, I did the live stream, and I guess I pushed myself too hard or something. But later that night, my incision line opened up, and then I ended up in the hospital all day and all night Easter Sunday of 2022. And that was just a whole ordeal. And now I'm still dealing with complications. The incision has closed up, but it took about 7 months, all told, for it to fully heal up. And I had to pack it with gauze. Nigel had to help me at times pack it with gauze because it was so swollen. Like, it disrupted my entire lymphatic system across my body. And so now I've started to get lymphatic massages. That was Nigel's birthday present to me this year, was to start that process to try to get some of that fluid to you know, drain. It's surprisingly gentle. Like, lymphatic, I thought that lymphatic massage was going to be something really aggressive. It's not. It's super gentle. It's almost like a kitten kneading on you. It's not really, it's actually probably the most gentle massage I've ever had. But the lady who did it, who was very sweet, and we had a really great conversation about her little kid. She's got an 18-month-old, and he just sounds so adorable. And she was telling me all the little stories about him. But she was palpating the area around my abdomen where a lot of this fluid accumulation was happening. And she was like, "Do you have a seroma here? It feels like you still have a seroma. I'm not allowed to diagnose you, so don't take this as a diagnosis, but have you had this looked at?" And I was like, hallelujah, somebody else noticed it. It's not just me. It's not just in my head. Because like I said, when I went to the plastic surgeon who did this stuff to me, every time I would go in there, I'm like, why did this open up? No answer, right? Just keep wearing your faja, you know, drink plenty of fluid, get lots of sleep, you know, but no answer about why it opened up. You know, I did a little bit of Dr. Google search, and Dr. Google said it was probably a seroma. So I had it in my head that it might be a seroma. I asked and in case you don't know what a seroma is, it's like almost like a cyst, except it's a cyst full of like just water, like fluid, you know, and it kind of accumulates underneath where your incision is. It's like still in those superficial layers of skin, right? Like it's not intermuscular or anything like that. It's kind of on top of the muscle. But it's, you know, it's like a pocket of fluid that kind of exerts pressure, and literally they don't go away on their own most of the time. They have to be drained, which is gross. You know, seems to be like a theme. I started with Dr. Pimple Popper, and I'm talking about seromas now. But anyway, like, you got to be careful when you have major cosmetic surgery, especially skin removal, because seromas are a pretty common complication. And that's why I thought that might be what was happening to me. But the doctor would just kind of look at it, and she would kind of poke it with her fingers and go, "Nah, it's fine. I don't see anything. That's fine. Like, it's open and oozy. You don't see anything?" But she'd be like, "Nah, it's fine. Just keep wearing your faja." So it was very validating to go to somebody and finally have them say, "I think you might have a seroma. You should have this looked into." And I've been following up with another plastic surgeon, a different one, but I'm kind of on the fence because at this point, I don't even care about what it looks like. I just don't want it to hurt. I'm still in pain from the complications of that tummy tuck surgery. I don't want to dwell on that. I don't talk about it too much, but it's kind of exhausting to live with chronic pain, as many of you know. And so come around 5, 6 o'clock at night, I'm like, oh my God, pass me the Advil. Why is this still hurting, you know? And then if I eat too much salt, of course, because my lymphatic system is disrupted, that hurts even more. So I have to be really mindful about what I eat. Oh, and here's the other kicker. The doctor who did this to me initially, when, you know, my blood pressure was in the toilet, her solution to this was just drink more coffee. As if I don't drink enough coffee. Have you ever known me to not drink coffee? And she was like, no, you just need to drink more. So now I'm drinking an insane amount of coffee because that's how I keep my blood pressure in check, because this woman wrecked my lymphatic system and my blood pressure is kind of touch and go sometimes. It's only normal when I drink a ton of coffee. This is not sustainable long term. Let me move to some of your comments. Let's see. Oh, I gotta scroll way up. Has your mom gone to check out any more houses for you? We found one. My mom and my brother saw this one. My brother was actually at the home inspection for this particular house that we're thinking about. It's a cute little 1970s little split level, but the stairs aren't long. They're like half staircases. So I can live with that with my arthritis and stuff. I'm young enough, I can make that work. It comes with a riding lawnmower and all the appliances, which is a pretty sweet deal. They're all functional. My brother checked them out. We've had the inspection already. So, I mean, I'm getting pretty far along in this process, which is good. My credit is good. So that's made things pretty simple. And I've had some savings. So I have a down payment locked and loaded and ready to go. So I think things are looking pretty good, knock on wood. But no, my mom liked this house. Then my brother went and checked it out and then was there for the home inspection. My brother is no BS. He told me that it looked great and that this looked like a really nice practical selection for a first home. And it's got a state park, like literally in the backyard. So I'm really excited about having walking trails and stuff like that so close to the home so I can try to get some more movement in. I much prefer working out outside as opposed to working out in a gym or in my home. I get bored really easily, but nature kind of seems to do it for me. Or roller skates. If I add roller skates to the equation, it's usually pretty cool as far as my preferences go. Tina says, went to Illinois to relative's house for Christmas. Oh, also been there during the summer. Yeah, so I can imagine that the weather all across the Midwest is kind of wonky. Like the humidity is crazy in the summer and then very windy, right? And then they also get a lot of that lake effect snow in the winter. So I guess if you really like weather extremes, the Great Lakes are the place to be, or like anywhere in North America, really. North America is pretty well known for crazy weather. Are you bringing Colette and Coco Swirl to the shop? That is a great question. She should already be there. This should be one that we make. Well, looks like I should ask Nigel to release this one because I took a bunch of pictures in this. I've been wearing this one for a while. I love this one in this color, but it looks like right now all we've got on the site is Aniston Foil, Nouveau Riche, and Strawberry Shake Rooted. So I'm going to have to ask him about that because this one works really well in this color, as you can probably tell. So we'll have to see when he plans to release that. ABT says, I'm in Buffalo, New York. I hate it when we get 6 feet of snow in a day. And the thing is, like, people outside of that area probably think you're exaggerating. I believe you. I believe that you guys just get dumped on with snow. You said it's been happening for the last few years. Not fun to shovel. I don't know if I could ever handle that, honestly. Like, I just do not have the cardiovascular fortitude to be able to shovel snow on that level. So, you know, you must be very healthy to be able to do that at 5 feet tall. That is exactly what it was, Tina. So, like I said, I'll probably make another video about this at some point. Honestly, I've already made a video about it, but then I scrapped it because I'm kind of like on the fence about how graphic I actually need this to be to get the point across. Because I mean, I have photos. I can show y'all what this actually looked like if it's helpful, and it might be, right, because it kind of shows just how bad this can get. But it was bad. It was really bad. Like, so I think what I'll do is I will do a really stupid drawing. Let me see if I can find a pen really quick. Impromptu art. Ooh, Sharpie, even better. Okay, so hopefully the Sharpie actually works. Okay, so here's my belly button, or at least pretend. So she made a perfect little keyhole belly button. It's almost too small. Like, it doesn't look natural. Again, she botched me in every conceivable way because my belly button is now too perfect looking. It doesn't look natural. It looks like it just looks weird to me. But I'll put a heart right where my girly bits are. So there are girly bits. Pretend with your mind that is hips, little girl bits there. Boop, boop. Okay, so you can kind of see there's like a torso going on. This already looks obscene. I'm trying to make it cute. It's not working. So I used to have this like big overhanging gut, and then I lost a ton of weight, and so I had like this deflated sack of skin that was just hanging there. And so I wanted to get that removed. What this lady ended up doing was a really extreme tummy tuck. Like, she didn't just remove the skin that needed to be removed. She went all the way across from hip blade to hip blade, almost straight across, which is kind of a no-no, right? So I ended up with dog ears. So I have like little skin flaps on both sides where she basically just didn't care about how the wound was going to heal. And I'm going to have to get those corrected. So now it's like my tummy has ears. And when the wound, so these developed over time, right? These were not immediately there. I noticed them as the swelling went down. As the wound began to actually heal, and let me know if you think this would be useful to ever make a video about, because I'm happy to share that story in more detail, but I almost don't want to share those images, you know what I mean? But I also feel like when people keep these kind of stories to themselves, it allows other people to fall into the same trap that I fell into. And I don't want to be part of the problem by being part of the cover up, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like treading a fine line. But anyway, it first opened right around here, and it started off with like a relatively small opening, and then it got bigger, and then I ended up with like a dead spot of skin over here that basically died all right there. So I mean, it went necrotic. It had to be gently scraped off. Luckily, it was just superficial layers of skin. There was enough blood supply where that entire patch didn't die, but it was pretty touch and go. This, by the way, this whole line started to turn really dark and ugly right around here. And it looked like that skin was starting to die too. And then this opened up over here. It started to open up a little bit in the center. So the whole center incision line from like here to here, you can kind of see where I'm cupping, right? That opened up. And I mean, that was awful. And it didn't just open up a little bit. I mean, it was deep. You could see my abdominal wall from where these holes had opened up. They were so incredibly deep. And that's why it took 7 months for that wound to heal, and why we had to continuously pack it with moist gauze, which was not fun, because while the nerves were disrupted and the superficial layers of skin were numb, the stuff on the inside was not numb. I could absolutely feel that, and it was very uncomfortable. Not only that, but it was very moist, right? So in a faja in 90-degree weather, that's gross. It was very gross. It was gross for 5 months, 6 months. It wasn't until towards the end that it actually stopped being openly gross and gooey. And the whole time my doctor was like, yeah, you'll be fine. Like, this happens all the time. Maybe it happens all the time for this particular doctor, but it shouldn't be that normal where she's just like, nah, 'tis but a scratch. You know what I mean? Like, this was a pretty significant wound. And so when it healed, like, this whole area is just jacked. It is bumpy and ripply, and it looked better before I had that tummy tuck. It looked better. Like, the baggy skin was a better look than what I've currently got going on, because now what I've got is a stomach that is hard to the touch, that is bumpy, has a really discolored, misshapen scar, and dog ears. Like, it looks anatomically wrong in a bunch of different ways. So why all this is relevant to the story, I went to a plastic surgeon, a second opinion a year later after it healed, because the thing is, most doctors don't want to touch you. This is why this kind of PSA I think is important. If you get screwed up by a plastic surgeon, nobody wants to touch you afterwards. Nobody wants to touch you. You're high risk. They don't want to fix it. They don't want to correct it. They don't want to get involved. And so I literally had to wait for it to heal before I could find a plastic surgeon that would be willing to talk to me. And no regular doctor, by the way, wanted to talk to me. Even though I was in physical pain, I was septic when I ended up in the hospital, my blood pressure was in the toilet. No doctor actually wanted to touch me. They wanted to send me back into the care of the plastic surgeon because it's such a niche thing and those other doctors don't know much about it. So buyer beware if you get plastic surgery, right? Because they make it sound like it's all safe and standardized and that they know what they're doing. And you have to assume, and I learned this the hard way, that every time you go to a plastic surgeon, you are a guinea pig. And they're experimenting on you as if you are the first patient they've ever touched. Even if they've done that exact same surgery dozens of times, I've learned through this experience that the reason why they call it plastic surgery is because it's the art of understanding how plastic your skin is, the plasticity of your skin, and how well your skin is going to heal. So if it's not that they necessarily have a specific patented technique, though some of them might, for what to do, or even a standardized technique that they are, using for their purposes, sometimes they are literally just winging it based on what they think your skin plasticity is. And that can be really dangerous when we're talking about a tummy tuck because it's a high risk surgery that goes all the way across your abdomen. Now imagine if they're doing things like that are super high risk, like a BBL or something like that already have like a high fatality rate. Like, be careful with the plastics. Be careful, because I did my homework and I went to literally a triple board certified aesthetic plastic surgeon based out of Atlanta who had a bunch of 5-star reviews on Real Self as well as Google. And her specialty is injectables. And I should have paid attention to that, because usually surgeons will specialize in a specific thing when it comes to plastic surgery. They'll specialize in boobs. They'll specialize in arms. They'll specialize in butts. I think this lady specialized in aesthetic injectables and just happened to do surgeries as a cash grab. And that most of those 5-star reviews were probably from things like Botox and Restylane and not necessarily from what I got, even though that's what she did to me. So buyer beware, I guess is what I'm saying. But yeah, it was absolutely wound dehiscence, if that's how you pronounce that. But yes, the wound just did not close properly. It is closed now, but it was a freaking mess when it first happened. Let's see, Cindy, I agree. It was awful. Barbara says, please do make a video about the tummy tuck. So many people have wildly unrealistic expectations. Snaps to you for that. Absolutely. About it regarding the serious crap that can happen. I mean, I learned the hard way. And I feel so bad for people in that situation having lived through it. Like, it's not like I just feel sorry for myself. I think about, all of the, I mean, maybe this is just because I'm empathetic, or at least I try to be empathetic, but it's like, I immediately start thinking about all the people that don't talk about what happened to them, where that gaslighting that I experienced, maybe they don't understand that they're being gaslit. Maybe they really do blame themselves. And at least I know when I'm being manipulated in that regard. And I know enough to be like, really, girl? Really? You're going to go that route? You're going to tell me I need to take more vitamins and a nap when you did this surgery to me and I'm in the hospital, right? But it's like, literally, they will do that stuff to you so you think it's your fault, right? And because it's an elective surgery that you paid for out of pocket for cosmetic purposes, it's very easy to lean into that stigma to make you feel like anything that goes wrong is your fault. And I feel so bad for people who don't see through that, who genuinely internalize that they're dealing with these catastrophic side effects because of something they did when it may not have been anything to do with them. It could have been because that doctor didn't know what the heck they were doing. So I'm inclined to agree that I should probably do something of that nature, but I just gotta maybe take a shot of whiskey before I make it live or something. I don't know, just to get over the jitters of having the world potentially see my oozy gooey, but people like Dr. Pimple Popper videos, so maybe they'll be into that stuff too. Who knows? It could go viral. Not that I necessarily want that content to go viral. You know what I mean? But I do think that it would be beneficial to know that this is something that happens. And yet, as insane as this is, and I think this is also worth touching on, like, I think a lot of us deal with body dysmorphia, right? Not just, folks who have, gender dysmorphia, which is a really specific type of body dysmorphia, but, big people have body dysmorphia about their size. And people like me who are like naturally potato shaped and androgynous, I feel like we've got something that's kind of like in between, like I feel like I understand what body dysphoria probably feels like because, I was androgenized and have to take testosterone suppressants. And I know what it feels like to want to be a girly girl, right? To want to wear pink, but my body, my boobs didn't grow properly, etc. And when I point this out, people are like, you shouldn't talk down about yourself. I'm like, I'm not. I'm literally just talking about what PCOS did to my body. And any of you who have it know what I mean. It's like, it does disfigure you. And so you kind of, I feel like I've been chipping away at that to make myself more feminine. The wigs are a part of that journey, but I've been chipping away at that my whole life, trying to, make my outside match my inside a little bit better. And I feel like that kind of body dysmorphia, whether it's gender related or not, is profound, and that a lot of people experience it, and that it can be devastating to say, what, someday I'm just going to have this corrected. I'm going to have it corrected. I'm going to, save up my money, go get somebody, to fix this for me. And then everything will be fine. And then to have it not work out, to have it be something that lands you in the hospital or something where you end up more disfigured than what you went in for. I mean, I count my blessings because at least I can cover up what happened to me with clothing. What if this were my nose or something in the middle of my face, right? Like, what if this were something I couldn't cover up? Then, I think about those people and what they must have gone through and how that must make them feel. And I'm like, we have to tell these stories because, it's a social thing that we feel this way about our bodies. It's very much related to our social interactions and how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive how we fit into the world around us. And I think that social media and a lot of that stuff makes this problem a lot worse. And then the minute, and I've experienced this too, where you go into like social media forums and you start talking about a bad experience you have, and immediately the women who want these surgeries, they will gaslight you just like the doctors do. It's almost cult-like. If you don't believe me, check out a Facebook group about plastic surgery and look for the negative comments. Because if those negative comments aren't immediately deleted, you will see that the women who make those comments are almost shouted down by people who are clinging to the promise. And that might work out for some folks, but it's not fair to vilify the people who just want to save other people from heartache. And again, I feel particularly bad for folks where, they can't cover it up. At least, for me, I have the privilege of people don't notice unless I actually say something about it, right? Because it's not like I'm wearing two-piece bathing suits to work and stuff like that. Though, frankly, I've never worn a two-piece bathing suit in my life because I was always too fat for it when I was a kid. Tina says, unfortunately, there are a lot of complications from abdominal surgery. I see it all the time. Oh, I bet. What, if I recall correctly, are you an RN? I'm sorry if I'm not remembering correctly, but I know that you definitely work in something in the medical field. But yeah, it is a lot more common than I think people realize. Tummy tucks are no joke. And anytime you get opened up, like even if it's cesarean section, the complication rates are really intense. Let's see. Already says, my neighbor had surgery on his spleen. Hospital sent him home. He started throwing up. He started throwing up blood that night. His wife took him to the ER. He had to get life flighted to Birmingham. Damn. But yeah, again, backing up the case, like if you have abdominal surgery, take that seriously. That is not like, getting a wart removed or something like that. It is literally a lot more intense because that's a huge part of your body. It's right in the center of your body. Whenever someone does surgery on the center of your body, it could potentially disrupt a whole bunch of systems. And our medical systems are not geared for that. They're not geared for systemic issues that affect every single part of your body or more than one body part. Doctors are trained to splice us up into individual parts, you know. The endocrinologist just looks at your hormones, and you know, the eye, ear, nose, throat guy, he's only looking at that stuff, right? Like, they all have their specialties, and if you have something that crosses into multiple specialties, heaven help you. And that's basically what you're opening the door to when you have abdominal surgery, is because it's in the center of you, it can affect a lot of different body parts all at the same time. Right? And so what if the kidney guy doesn't want to talk to the GI guy, doesn't want to talk to the heart guy, doesn't want to talk to the whatever else is going wrong with you guy, right? Or woman, or whoever is doing the stuff, right? Like, if you think that getting regular medical care is rough, wait till you start having symptoms that go all throughout your body. As anyone with a chronic illness can probably attest, you know, like anyone with lupus can probably tell this story better than I can, because I've heard so many horror stories about, and my own grandmother died when she was 30 of lupus erythematosus because literally they thought she was just real depressed. Sexism is real and it kills people. My grandma's a good example that she was 30 when she passed away. And so literally, you have to be mindful of the fact that, you know, that's what the medical profession does. They're not equipped for this. And then the only time they'll take it seriously sometimes is literally if you're on death's door, case in point. So take it really seriously. The surgeon nicked an artery. Oh my God. So he was bleeding internally for that whole day, probably, before somebody noticed something. That is terrifying. By the way, it's 98. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was 95 here earlier, and then it rained and it cooled down a little bit. But yeah, it's been pretty darn hot lately. Shimvambu, ancient healing modality. Most people cannot bear to use it though. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna write that down. Shivambu. Yeah, I will definitely Google that. Let's see. Oh, John. Hey, John. Just confirmed the warehouse does have Colette and Coco's 4R. Yeah, I know we do. Because I mean, where do you think I got this one from? So we'll have to get that up on the site because she's a keeper. This is a good one. Colette looks good in every color though. Not gonna lie. Like, there are some of our wigs like Charisma, where I try to be really, really upfront about the fact that you literally have to style her to get the most out of her because she's crazy looking by design. This is like the opposite. I made this one to be super work friendly, grocery getting friendly. No one's going to clock you with this one on. They're going to automatically be like, oh, well, she looks really polished and put together. No effort at all. Like, this is complete opposite of Charisma. Not to say that she doesn't have charisma, but that literally the wig we call Charisma on hairkitty.com is, you know, kind of punk rock compared to this one, which is more like daytime appropriate. Let's see. Barbara says, when your gastric sleeve talks, your tummy ears can listen. It's almost symbiotic. No. That's funny. Because my sleeve does talk still. Like, it's been, thank God I'm talking so loud that you probably can't hear me drinking through the straw and the gurgles that accompany that, because drinking through a straw is still kind of a perilous adventure for someone with a gastric sleeve, even this many years out. I had this in 2017. Oh my God, it's been 5 freaking years, 5 years. Going on 6 since I've had this. Holy crap, that's a long time ago. But no, I literally, I still have trouble drinking out of straws. I still have issues eating and drinking at the same time. I guess that's good. It's doing its job. But yes, you're very right. I have a pair of ears to go with my chatty sleeve. Doctors make a lot of money from us and our insurance plans, for sure. But the insurance won't touch it if it's plastic surgery related, unless you're literally dying. And even in my case, they fought against that when I ended up in the hospital. I had to really push to get them to cover it, because even though I was septic and all this other stuff, it was related to a plastic surgery. So they fought over it. So that's another thing to be aware of. Pictures don't bother me. Smells is a totally different matter. Yeah, I promise I will not broadcast my surgical scars and smell-o-vision. Rest assured. Ortiz Sparrow says, Heather, it sounds like it was completely done. It was. I mean, yeah, it was a mess. The whole thing was a mess. It's just a flesh wound. 'Tis but a scratch. There's no way I'm getting money back. That's not how plastic surgery works. And yeah, but I do plan on naming and shaming. You know, do not go to Dr. Angelina Postov. I think that's how she pronounces her last name, but she just goes by Dr. Angelina. Don't do it if you're in the Atlanta area, because she's the one that did this to me. And by the way, when I think we mentioned this on the last live stream, but when I had my CT scan, the tech asked me what her name was, and I started to say it, and then I got caught up on her last name because it's Russian. And as I was mentioning her last name, the tech finished her last name for me and said, "Don't worry, I know exactly who you're talking about. You're not the first patient of hers I've seen in here." The shade. Like, why am I finding out about this after the fact? Because I swear I looked at all of those 5-star reviews. It was like, yay, I'm safe. Yeah, it is what it is. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an emergency appendectomy, because maybe that's why the scar kind of ended up looking funky. But then again, when doctors are trying to save your life, I don't think they really care too much about the aesthetics. They're probably operating under the assumption that you'll get that fixed later on. Colleen says doctors were true healers long ago. I don't know. I think at the very beginning they were kind of like mystical, you know, like I think about humors and stuff like that. I think this is kind of coming full circle, where it was like they were mystical healers and they would bleed you and bring out the leeches and you know, do things like give you arsenic, you know, because it made your skin look, you know, nice and peppy and white. And then now they know that stuff's bad for you. I think in the mid 20th century, they probably got a little bit better about it. And then now it's kind of gone back to being crazy sauce, where it's just like, here, take this magic pill. Ozembic's a really good example. You know, I've met I have friends, and I'm not going to name them or anything, but I've got a couple friends who took Ozempic and they're like, I didn't lose anything at all. And I'm like, did you change your diet? Did you exercise? You still binge drinking and stuff? You know, they did literally no modifications to their diet, their exercise, or anything. And then wondered why the Ozempic wasn't just making the pounds melt off. And I'm like, girl, it only suppresses your appetite. If you're still eating and drinking the exact same amount in the exact same ways, you're going to get the exact same outcome. Same thing with the gastric sleeve. It's not magic. It's literally just appetite suppression with a little bit of rewiring of your enteric nervous system for a little bit. But I mean, that wears off. So if you're just going to eat and drink exactly like you were pre-surgery, right? But they'll still sell that stuff to you. They'll still sell you Ozempic, and they'll make a ton of money off of it, which is crazy because you can get the main ingredient directly from India for like $99 a month. You know, but it's like $600 to get the brand name version here in the States. It's nuts. Inpatient coder for the VA. There we go. I knew it was something medical adjacent, that you'd basically seen everything, because it seems like every time we mention a medical story, you're on top of it. So I was like, she has to have some kind of insider intel here. So that makes a ton of sense. What has changed over my lifetime? I would never have guessed you were 66, Barbara, just for the record, is that our healthcare has gone from the practice of medicine to a corporate business promoting, pushing services. Absolutely. You're in therapy. Okay, now I'm definitely intrigued and will definitely be looking into this just out of sheer curiosity. Okay, so John says, I started to go for a normal 3-mile hike. He does do these hikes, by the way. He's a plus size dude, but he is definitely very active. And then I put it off due to that insane heat until it cooled down, at which point it rained. The summertime in Georgia is like winter everywhere else. You just kind of stay inside and run from one air-conditioned place to another. John says the same thing. Let's see. Deborah says, heard people can get blood clots from tummy surgery, bad things after. Yes, because you're sedentary. Like when you have a tummy tuck, you can't stand up straight for like several weeks afterwards. So it's actually really difficult to move, let alone to exercise, because you're kind of like bent like a 7 everywhere you go until you start to heal up a little bit, and then you can stand upright and you can actually start moving. And in my case, I was hunched over for a very long time because I was having complications. So yeah, but you're definitely at higher risk of blood clots because of that fact. And yeah, not my insane butt was flying. Like I literally got the job at IDC and was going on business trips with open wounds that I had to pack and a faja, right? Like the compression garment on my body. I went to Chicago twice like that. I went to Orlando once like that. I went somewhere else, but I can't remember where that was. Nashville. So, I mean, I went to a bunch of different business trips, and the whole time I'm at these conventions, I'm like gently clutching my stomach just to make sure that I don't get too much friction from the gauze rubbing up against the faja while I walk. So I can only imagine that, folks who are in worse physical shape and don't have a compelling reason to move, they're probably really at high risk, especially if they're smokers. I've heard that, or on birth control pills. I've heard that can also make that risk a lot worse. I think it was back in the 50s. I see patients like that where I work. It's called non-compliance. Oh, man. And that's the thing you got to be careful with, like I mentioned, is that a lot of the complications can get chalked up to non-compliance, even if you are being compliant. It's a convenient way for doctors to go, yeah, we didn't do this to you. It's your fault. I consider that sometimes part of the gaslighting. Because in my case, I'm sure they probably tried to make the claim that it was non-compliance, but I literally... John's mad at me because I'm rambling. I told him I would make this a short one, and he wants to eat dinner because we're gonna go out for Mediterranean food. I think you're absolutely right. So I think I'll recap a couple things and then we'll wrap this up so I don't continuously provoke John by making him hangrier than he needs to be. At least he's being honest about it, right? I love that he had to sign off on it. Okay, so just in case you didn't know, I am wearing Colette in Coco Swirl R, as you see scrolling on the bottom of the screen. As we have found out during this live stream, she is not live on the site yet. I'll ask Nigel to put this in rotation on Patreon, maybe just add this to the fourth one on the list because he wants to release them in this order. But we gotta get this one up on the site. It's too cute. We got Poppy in Barbie Dreams Rooted coming soon. Colette in, so this one, but in Illuminati Rooted. And Grayson in South Beach Sands, all of which are available at hairkittykitty.com. We've also got a sale going on right now for Founders Week. And this one is 50% off of everything in the store that is currently listed. So obviously that wouldn't help with this one here or any of the new ones that aren't listed yet that I just mentioned a moment ago. But anything that is currently listed on the website, please feel free, take advantage of this sale because that will help us with our moving costs. Nigel and I are trying to shake a little bit of extra money loose from the tree, and we always run big sales around my birthday just for the heck of it. So it's killing two birds with one stone for us and hopefully helping you save a little bit of money in the course of that. So there we go. Trying to think if there's anything else. If you're not signed up to our newsletter, please consider it. You can't avoid it. If you go to our website, it'll try to prompt you immediately. Thank you, Clavio, whatever you want to say. It does that pop up every time you go to the site, just because we want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to see our sales when we run them, because we run really good sales. We try to make sure they're worth your time for signing up for the newsletter. You can also see us at Patreon, and I'm still Sister Wigs on Patreon. I don't really feel the need to change it there because, I mean, people who are going to Patreon to sign up for us there are looking for that specifically. But it was just on the algos. I was really afraid that having cyst in the name would look bad long term. So I already went through all that, and y'all know. I think that covers all of it. So I wanted to thank you for joining us. Nigel's here in spirit. He will be with us on the next live stream. I wanted to thank John for hanging out in the comments and reminding me that I promised him Mediterranean food tonight. And I hope that you had a wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing you on the next live stream. And until next time, have a wonderful night, everybody. Bye-bye.